So we're now hearing from Donald Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanch, who would stand next to Donald Trump every morning as Trump gave those weird press conferences, and he would look like the mannequin.
Donald John Trump is guilty of 34 felony charges.
In any case, there's a saying that suggests you should get the attorney you deserve. Todd Blanch and Alina Haben are likely the recipients of Donald Trump's nomination, in my opinion. In the wake of Donald Trump's 34 felony conviction, I will present some of the interview footage from Todd Blanch. You can either believe him, or you have to face the consequences. Todd Blanch was asked why he wasn't called to testify. During his closing arguments, Todd Blanch complained to the jury that the prosecution had not made a move against Eric Trump. Don Jr. was not contacted by the prosecution. They were not involved in making calls to all of these individuals. Todd Blanch's response to the question of why he didn't call some witnesses for the defense case, which was related to his relationship with Kate and Collins on CNN, was that we live in America. The MAGA lawyer, Robert Costello, who collapsed during the trial and committed a terrible act, was called by you. What does the term "a" signify in this context?
When he was leaving, one thing he brought up were the witnesses who were not called. And he was saying that there could have been witnesses that would have helped make the case. We never saw Keith Schiller, Alan Weisselberg, some key figures here who got brought up a lot. Why didn't the defense call any of these witnesses?
Well, because we happen to live in America and we don't have the burden of proof. And so that's not the point. That's a question that is a loaded question that should not be asked of a defense attorney or a defendant. The question that we asked the jury, and they ultimately obviously got passed, is why the prosecution didn't call those witnesses, right? You, as a defense attorney, you don't go into a case saying, I'm going to fill the holes of the prosecution, right? And Keith Schiller and some of the other witnesses that were not ultimately called, in our view, should have been called by the prosecution, and we asked the jury to take a hard look at that. I don't know whether they did or not, but they convicted.
Fox and CNN brought in Todd Blanch, who was asked about it. He was questioned on Fox about whether he's doing this for them in this location. He was convinced that a just and impartial jury should be used to trial Donald Trump. The clip featuring Todd Blanch's answers is available for viewing.
Did your client get a fair trial?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, we've been saying for over a year that we couldn't get a fair trial in Manhattan. We couldn't get a fair trial with the judge, and it played out in lots of ways exactly as we expected.
The McGow lawyers are causing me trouble, and that's one of the major concerns I have. I don't hold criminal defense attorneys responsible for defending individuals accused of crimes, even those that are very serious. In my view, the role of criminal defense attorneys in our system is crucial, as they assist the prosecution in demonstrating the guilt of a crime beyond reasonable doubt by using their burden of proof. It's a crucial part. The McGow lawyers, including Todd Blanch, Alina Haben, Rudy Giuliani, and others, are causing damage to our constitutional framework. They're questioning the credibility of our legal system. They're attempting to undermine and devastate a system where jurors are treated fairly and without bias. Todd, you were responsible for choosing this jury in voir dire. You were able to summon defense witnesses, but not the other way around. You reached out to Robert Costello, the McGow lawyer who lied on the witness stand and appeared foolish during cross-examination. Susan Hoppinger's thorough cross-examination allowed Donald Trump to testify. If Donald Trump had the desire, he should have taken counsel defense. I'm not getting it. An advice of counsel defense could have been offered by Donald Trump if he had testified. Assuming he had the desire for that, he would have been granted a testify and attorney-client privilege. He could have confessed to the crimes and presented them as evidence, but that's not what he did. Donald Trump refuted any claims of interference with Stormy Daniels and stated that the facts involved were present in a court of law.
It's a good question that he was asked during the CNN interview, which is, why did Trump not take the stand, Todd? He said he was going to take the stand. He was bragging to the press, I'm going to testify, I'm going to testify.
Watch the video.
Why did Donald Trump not ultimately take the stand here?
Well, that's a very personal question to him and to me, honestly. And it's a very difficult question. Of course, he wanted to testify. And I don't say that because that's what he has said. He wanted to get his story out. I think the judge had made some decisions before the trial or the day the trial started about what would be allowed to be asked of him by the prosecutors if he took the stand. And some of those questions were really complicated to answer because there's still appeals going on. And so there's a lot of decision points that go into whether somebody testifies. Ultimately, it's his decision, and he listened to us, and he relied on our counsel, and he reached a decision that he thought was right, which I very much agreed with.
So that means your counsel was for him to not take the stand.
I'm not going to tell you what my counsel was.
Well, you said he relied on counsel and he went with that decision and he didn't take the stand.
But ultimately, it was his decision, and I never say, and I think colleagues and folks that you have on here hopefully agree with me. I never say to somebody, "Don't take the stand." Right? That's their decision, and that's a decision that they have to make. But I want them to have they want them to know what will happen on the good and the bad if they do take the stand.
So no regrets on him not taking the stand?
Look, the verdict came down a couple hours ago. I don't know if I have any regrets about anything yet. I'm still thinking things through, and I think so is he, and so are everybody else around him. But at this point, I don't think that there was a conviction because he did not take the stand.
Let me clarify by saying that I would fact-check it and see if it's true. I don't think Snopes should be required to fact-check this, just like they did with Donald Trump supporters who are wearing diapers to support his cause. According to Todd Blanch, it's not necessary to conduct a snobbery check here since every decision was made in conjunction with Donald Trump. Watch this video.
It is intentional. This is not America. And I'm speaking to MSNBC viewers and CNN viewers, the Rachel Maddows, the Caitlin Collins. It is time to come together because this administration does not care about us. They do not. They care about themselves.
They don't care either because they got what they wanted politically. And
that's right.
You know, for them, it doesn't matter. The ends justify the means.
All the negativity propagated by Todd Blanch, the defense attorney for Trump, should be ignored. I urge you to scrutinize what Michael Cohen said in his interview with Rachel Maddow. It's worth noting that Cohen is returning to politics soon. Don't be anxious. The Mar-a-Lardo Correctional Facility sells shirts for sale without the wording that conveys calmness in this criminal trial. The Mayacopa Mar-a-Lardo shirts are available in store, so don't miss out. It's worth noting that Michael Cohen was taken aback by the verdict. Take a listen to Michael Cohen's composed answer. The current status of Michael Cohen in America is that of a hero.
Were you surprised by the verdict?
No. I was not. I've been on so many of the shows on here on MSNBC, and I've told you all along that the facts speak for themselves. The documents speak for themselves. I've listened to so many pundits come on the various shows, including some of the hosts talking about X, Y, and Z. They couldn't be further from the truth. And I would have conversation with my lawyer, Danya, on a regular basis. And I would say, I don't understand it. I just don't understand. How come they don't see the same things that we're seeing? I understand that, yeah, it makes great headlines and so on, but the facts are the facts. And at the end of the day, the facts are what prevailed here.
Compare Michael Cohen's words with those of the MAGA lawyer ring in this location. The person in question is Alina Habba. This is not something I have to show you. Alina Habba is discussing with MSNBC and CNN viewers who all endorse Donald Trump or similar candidates regarding Fox. The Kim Jong-un Vladimir Putin propaganda is limited to nothing. It's all very unusual stuff going on here.
It is intentional. This is not America. And I'm speaking to MSNBC viewers and CNN viewers, the Rachel Maddows, the Caitlin Collins. It is time to come together because this administration does not care about us. They do not. They care about themselves.
They don't care either because they got what they wanted politically. And
that's right.
You know, for them, it doesn't matter. The ends justify the means.
Our country is currently in a serious state, and we cannot look at this as anything other than a serious state of affairs where we have an issue where people are using politics in the legal courtroom. It cannot happen anymore. I have seen it. I have been in court since October, trial after trial after trial. For 15 years, I have been practicing law. I have never seen anything like this in my life.
She desires to make known that she is casting her vote for Donald Trump. Alina, we are fully cognizant of the situation. At Mar-a-Lago, you're at home in Mar-a-Lardo. There's a place where you hang out every weekend. I am aware of it. We understand that those of you who are part of the MAGA crowd come to see and experience the high life. It's here that we get it. Watch this video.
I want to also remind the American people of one thing. I am a legal spokesperson. I am also an American, and I will be voting for Trump, not because of President Trump, who I obviously support, but because I support America.
Alina Habba alleges that Judge Mershon covered his mouth during the verdict because he was smiling, fabricating falsehood.
Judge Mershon today watched my client. I watched him. I watched the jury say guilty 34 times, and I watched him. And he looked at my client and he covered his mouth. And he covered his mouth probably because he was smiling.
This also proved to be a comical moment. Upon her announcement by Hannity, observe the nature of various genuine slips or Freudian slippers or phone calls are the previous representative. He is unable to comprehend what he's saying. He is unable to put his sentence in writing, so watch the video.
All right, here to react to today's verdict, former President Trump's legal spokeswoman. Well, not former. I mean, she's President Trump's legal spokesperson.
Back to Todd Blanch here for a moment. One of the things that Jesse Waters on Fox was saying to Todd Blanch is, they're laughing. How does that make you feel that you're being laughed at?
Could I ask Mr. Steinglass, many people said the prosecution was masterful and flawless. Just want to know how you feel at this moment. Sorry. I'll let you man. How do you feel?
Mr. Steinglass, I think some of you probably saw him speak for a little bit the other day. So he's done his job.
So the sense of what people are getting is this is a question from a reporter praising the prosecution. And then they're laughing, Todd. They're laughing. How does that make you feel?
Listen, they won today. They won today, and they're having their celebration, I'm sure, right now, and I suppose they're entitled to do that. I guess the way I would say about how it makes me feel is it kind of confirms the point in many ways, right? So the point that we've been saying, that this is not fair, this is not what this country should be doing to its political leaders, past and present. And then when you see it happen and when you see it celebrated and you hear laughter from the reporters at somebody who's just been convicted of 34 felonies, and I said this in the trial, but it's true. President Trump is an amazing man. He's president, he's running for president, and he has a public persona. He's also a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a friend to a lot of people. And so when you see that happen to him, and I was standing right next to him today, and it's heartbreaking because they're laughing at a man, at a father, at a husband, at a grandfather, and as somebody who's running for president and looks like will win. That's something that people should be troubled with.
As I stated earlier in this video, you are entitled to the attorney you deserve. Donald Trump should be favored over these lawyers. By the way, who is the recipient of the Trump Attorneys Award for exercising best judgment in 2024? The defense team was blown out of proportion by Joe Tacopina. The chief of this criminal defense team was Tacopina. He resigned after the initial verdict by E. Jean Carroll. He declared that he was no longer capable of doing this. The team was made up of Todd Blanch, Susan Necklace, and Emil Bove, but they were not heard from yet. Therefore, I wanted to give a shout out to Joe Tacopina for his contribution.